Football Coaches Association just made the worst decision I've ever seen, okay? But we have a ton of stuff to get to in this episode. We have the top 5 toughest places to play in the country, and then stick around to the very end to see the spotlight of the Oregon Ducks football program. A ton of stuff to get into there. They've had a ton of really good seasons, but can they keep it going to 2026 and beyond? Welcome back to Scoring from the 50. My name is Drew, your host, and today we have a full episode to get to, but before we do, I gotta make sure I ask you guys to go down and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, tell me all your thoughts on the Oregon football team. Give me your thoughts on a 2014 playoff. We'll get to that in just a few minutes, but first, the top 5 toughest places to play in college football. Number 5, we're going to go with Oregon. Autzen Stadium. Not a lot of people in that stadium, but it's really weirdly shaped. It's kind of got that bowl shape, right? So it holds noise really, really well. You know, they got that shout chant every single third quarter. It's a beautiful scene there. You got tons of woods, tons of forest near the ocean, tons of stuff to do there in Autzen Stadium. And again, it's just a beautiful stadium, a really, really loud stadium. It holds noise better than you would think because it is a very weirdly shaped stadium. You know, it's kind of like big on one end, short on the other, but it's still like a circle. It's a really weird shaped stadium, but it holds noise really, really well, and it makes it really tough for offenses to communicate in that stadium. Now, my number 4 toughest place to play, again, another shocker here probably, is Washington. Husky Stadium up there in Seattle, Washington. The Washington Huskies play there every single year, and it is an incredibly tough place to play. Look, it's an absolutely beautiful environment. It's an absolutely beautiful environment. You got the lake right there, right outside the stadium. You can see the sun come up during those early games. You can watch the sun come up and hit the lake and come into the stadium. It's an absolutely beautiful setting. One that is for sure on my bucket list to go to sometime in the future. But that stadium, it just goes straight up and down, kind of like another stadium that we'll get to in just a few seconds. But that stadium, it goes straight up. It's super loud, but it only works whenever that team is good. Obviously, last year they're not that good. You know, they're a decent team, not good, not great. You know, the year before, you know, even worse than that. But back whenever they were good, whenever Kalen DeBoer was there and they were winning every single week, they go undefeated in the regular season. That place was loud. That game against Oregon in 2023, oh my gosh, that was whenever I was completely sold on that stadium. It is one of the toughest places to play. It's one of the loudest stadiums in the country, and I cannot wait to make it up there eventually. But now moving on to number 3, a stadium that is kind of similar to that, but just way bigger. Texas A&M Kyle Field, right? The new stadium, the house that Johnny Manziel built, a bucket list place for sure on everyone's bucket list of college football stadiums to go to. Kyle Field has got to be up there. It's ginormous. It looks like a skyscraper, man. The new additions that came after Johnny Manziel left and all the money that he made them, all of it went straight to the stadium, and it got huge, okay? It used to be open-ended on one side of the stadium, not anymore. Now it's ginormous. The stadium is loud. It's rocking. It's got one of the best, I'm not going to say the best, because Virginia Tech does exist, but one of the best walkouts, one of the best run-out entrances in the country with Power by Kanye. That gets me going. Go back. Look, one of my favorite videos to watch is a couple years ago. The rivalry's coming back against Texas. It's in Kyle Field. The lights are going on and off and on and off, on and off. And they start blaring Power by Kanye as they're running out. The lights are flickering. Everybody's going crazy. Everyone's screaming it. The players are running out of the tunnel. You can see them jumping up and down. They're ready to go. They're ready to take on Texas Longhorns. They ended up losing that game, unfortunately. But just an insane atmosphere. And then, of course, I will give props, something that always stuck with me from that game. ESPN did a really good job with that entrance because not only did they show everything leading up to it and then them running out, but they also had the lyrics of the war hymn as they were running out, which is really cool, really nice touch. Besides the point. But that stadium itself, super loud, holds a ton of people, and it's straight up and down, so it holds noise incredibly well and makes it very, very, very hard to hear anything. It's one of those stadiums where, you know, whenever they swing back and forth before the game, you can feel the stadium shaking, at least so I've heard. Again, a bucket list place for me to go to eventually down the road whenever I can afford it, and I'm not a poor college student. So, Texas A&M, number 3 on my list. But getting to number 2, another SEC stadium, Tennessee, Neyland Stadium, one of my favorite stadiums in the country. The light shows are better than almost any other stadium, okay? And then they matched that white and orange and gray with those jerseys, and then, oh my gosh, that place is intimidating. Then you throw in the checkerboard pattern across the entire stadium, and man, if you're going into that stadium, I'm shaking. I don't want to play against that kind of crowd. They're incredibly loud. Over 100,000 people fit into that stadium. Same with Texas A&M, I'm pretty sure as well. But Tennessee, really, really tough to play. And then you see them running out in the power T. They run out through the band. They got the T, and then they go to one side. Man, it's an absolutely beautiful environment. Again, another bucket list place for me to go to, and hopefully for you guys to go to as well if you haven't been. A huge, huge place to play. I absolutely love it, right? I want to go there so bad. Every place on this list is a bucket list I gotta go to at some point in my life, and I cannot wait to see it in person. But man, it is so loud in that stadium. I believe it's one of the loudest stadiums in the country, one of the toughest places to play. But number one on my ranking as the number one toughest place to play in the country is going to be Death Valley. LSU's Death Valley, okay? Not Clemson's. They have got one of the best atmospheres in the country. It's thick. The humidity down there, it's right next to the Gulf of Mexico, right now in New Orleans. The humidity down there is thick. You can feel the heat in your bones, and man, it makes it so tough to play down there. Everyone in Louisiana is drunk during those games, okay? You get to a night game, everyone in Louisiana has all day to drink as much as they want, and boom, they get in there, they're loud, they're ruckus, they don't care about anything other than LSU winning that football game. Everything else in their life completely goes to the wayside. It completely goes to the side. All they care about is winning that football game and helping their team win that football game, and you can feel it, right? Maybe you make a bad play, right? You're Tennessee, you go in there, you make a bad play, and the next starts playing. That gets to your head instantly. Suck that, Tiger. And then, boom. You cannot get that out of your head. It's one of the craziest environments, one of the best band songs. Look, I didn't talk about the band anywhere. I'm a band guy. I was in band in high school, but that's the only one on this list that I really pay attention to, because that song playing over and over and over and over and over again, that's going to get to you. It's going to start to annoy you. It's going to get under your skin. It takes a mental wherewithal to get through that towards the end of a football game and to be like, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. Not going to do what that song says to do. And I'm going to go out there and win a game. It's tough to do that. It is really tough to do that in Death Valley. And then you got the haze sitting there after all the fireworks before the game. Even during the game, you got that haze kind of hovering it and kind of encapsulates, makes it feel like it's the only place in the world, like everything else doesn't matter. It makes you feel entrapped in the stadium, and it's one of the best environments in the country. Definitely something that all of us need to go check out at some point in our lives, and LSU is going to take the cake as the number one toughest place to play in college football. Now, the meat of this episode is going to be talking about the AFCA, the American Football Coaches Association, has voted to support a 2014 playoff. And if you can feel my snowball building and building and building into the tangent that I'm about to go on about this 2014 playoff, man, it has got disgustingness written all over it. And I have about 10 bullet points right here on my screen that tells me why this is a horrible idea. Number one, it ruins the regular season. Look, we've already talked about this before on this channel. You hear everyone talk about this. It will ruin the college football regular season. The part that makes the season so special is that the college football Saturdays in the fall, that's what makes it so special. The fact that every single game feels life or death. Every single one. You go back to Alabama and Texas back when the 14 playoff. I remember sitting with my friend watching that game and thinking, man, whoever loses this game is going to be really tough for them to come back and win a national championship. It's week one, and their season's already this close to being over. Of course, Alabama ended up losing that game, and then, boom, they make the college football playoff, so does Texas. But that's besides the point. In that moment, it felt like life or death. It felt like whoever won that game had to win that game, and you cannot lose this game. And it's week one. That's no more. That is not going to be a thing in the 2014 playoff. You can lose up to 4 games. It doesn't matter. You can make the college football playoff and go have a shot at the national championship. That ruins the regular season. That ruins what makes those games so special, and ruins what makes the games so intense every single Saturday, no matter who you're playing. But not only that, it also ruins rivalry weekend. Go look at 2024 Michigan-Ohio State. That was an embarrassing loss by Ohio State, losing to a Michigan team that was not very good that year, and you lose to your biggest rival. Well, guess you can go lose that game and then make the playoff and win the national championship. That's in a 12-team playoff. You lose the biggest game of your regular season. You also lost to Oregon, the other biggest game of your regular season. You still get in and you win the national championship. That's in a 12-team. And you know what? I'm not even going to hold that against Ohio State. They won the national championship. They went on an insane run. They figured it out. The mental toughness that it took to bounce back from that and win a national championship was incredibly impressive. But at some point, it's got to get to the point where you don't deserve a shot to win a national championship. At some point, if you lose 4 games, you do not deserve a shot at the national championship. That's not how college football works. That's not how college football has ever worked. And it's disrespectful to every team that has won the national championship before you or competed for a national championship before you because you did maybe half of what they did. It's disrespectful to every single team that has ever won a national championship because you think that you can go win a national championship at 9-4 or something like that. No, that's not how this works. That's not how college football has ever worked. And it's disrespectful to every single team that has come before 2014, come before 1998, whenever all these national championship games started being played. Completely disrespectful to every single team out there. But not only that, completely lacks the competence of what the fans want. Go look at March Madness and what they're doing. No one asked for an expanded bracket. No one wants a 72-team playoff. Nobody wants a 72-team March Madness bracket. Nobody wanted that. It's all a bunch of greedy millionaires just trying to make more money than they already have because apparently they need more than the millions and billions of dollars that they have already made. And the fans who make the sport what it is and pay attention to the games and watch the games and enjoy the games, who the sport is actually for, because we're the ones who are giving them all of our money. We get the butt end of it. We get a product that we don't want. We don't want to watch that game. I don't want to watch a 72-team March Madness bracket. I don't want to watch a 24-team college football playoff bracket. That is the worst outcome because it ruins the regular season. But then that first round, I don't care. I don't care who wins the first round. I don't even care who wins the second round. Really, if we're being honest, I don't care who wins the second round because they're not going to win the national championship. Maybe the best team in this country win that game, but that's a game that we expect them to win. If they do win, great. If the lower seed team wins, cool. It's a cool upset, but they're not going to make it. They're not going to make it to the national championship game. They're not going to make it to the national championship. They're not going to win the national championship. You cannot win that game. If you're a low-seeded team, you're not going to win that game and go win a national championship. That's just not how the sport works because there is such a difference between the number 1 team and the number 12 team. There is a very, very, very big difference in that. Look, you could use Miami as an example to say, hey, maybe they're not. Well, okay, how about the number 1 team and the number 16 team? Number 16 team wouldn't even made the playoff last year, right? Weren't good enough to make the playoff last year, but we're going to also put the number 1 team against the number 16 team, and that's not even close to the worst team in the freaking playoff. That's not even the worst team in the bracket, but we're still going to pretend like that number 16 team has a shot at the national championship? No, they do not. The 24 team, let alone, does not have a shot at the national championship. Number 16 team won. The number 14 team maybe, but that's it. You are not going to have a number 24 seeded team win the national championship. You're never going to see that. You are very, 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 very rarely going to ever see a team ranked outside the top 15 go and win the national championship because there is such a difference between the best teams and mediocre teams because that's what a 9-4 team is. That's what an 8-4 team is. A mediocre football team going against the best teams. That's horrible. That is going to ruin the sport and ruin the playoffs. Moving on from that. The people who actually want this that aren't, the big billionaire people, the few people that do want this and think, 2014, that's more playoff games, that's more football, that's great. It's the same people that wanted Deion Sanders to work out at Colorado, or people that thought Deion Sanders would work out at Colorado. It's like, it's flashy. It's a lot of people that are very casual fans. It's a lot of people that show up in the playoffs, or maybe they'll watch the Michigan-Ohio State game, but they don't actually live and breathe the sport like we do. We don't actually, if you're watching this in the middle of May? It's May 11th whenever I'm recording this right now. The people who are wanting and supporting this are not watching this episode right now. And that makes me sad because I wish they were. If you're watching a channel with 100 subscribers on it on May 11th, still 3-4 months out from the season, you're the kind of guy that watches every single game. Every single time college football is on your screen, you are there sitting down watching it, right? Whether it's MAC on Tuesdays, whether it's the Mountain West on Fridays, or it's Michigan-Ohio State in the middle of November. You are watching almost every game that you possibly can because you love the sport like I do. If you're watching this in the middle of May, you love the sport the same way that I do, and we absolutely adore it, right? We are diehard fans of college football. But if you're a dude who just shows up every once in a while to watch big games, you're going to think that this is great because you don't watch the regular season anyway, so you don't value that. You're just going to show up for the playoffs and watch the big games and be like, oh, this is cool, a lot of football we get to watch. Heck yeah. And then you don't watch the regular season, so none of it matters to you. Don't listen to those people. Do not listen to those people because they don't sit and watch and live and breathe college football the way that we do. They do not love the sport the way that we do. Do not listen to them. They do not hold opinions that matter, okay? This is continuing to stray further away from what makes college football so great. Like I said, Saturdays in the fall, making that feeling that every single game is life and death, feeling like every single game matters, feeling like every single game is a life or death scenario. If you don't win that game, then your season is that much closer to being over. Now, if you're that much closer to being over, you got like this much left to lose, right? If you lose one game. So it's completely pointless. You don't have to try. You don't have to actually, make these, you don't have to win these games. You don't have to win any of the games. You can go and lose against, if you're Ohio State, you can go lose against Michigan, Oregon, Penn State, and probably, Colorado. And then boom, you're still into the playoff. That is wrong. That's totally wrong. And then you have a team that has all the talent that Ohio State has, and then you go and you're in the playoff, and boom, you have a shot at the national championship, even though you've lost 4 games because of how good that roster is. You have to earn the college football playoff. You have to earn a spot in the college football playoff. You cannot just be handed it to you because of the way that the system works. That's totally wrong. Totally not how this sport has ever worked, and totally not how this sport should ever work. Now, finally, and let me take a deep breath here because this is the main point. This is like all the points that I just made. This is the one that I really, really hone in on because it is in all caps here on my list. This is the softest thing I've ever seen from the college football coaches. The American Football Coach Association, they voted to support a 2014 playoff. This is the softest thing I've ever seen. All these coaches talk about, oh, we want to earn it on the field. Oh, we want to do all these things. We're tough. We want to go win it. And then we go and we vote for something like this, and you vote for yourself to have all these opportunities to fail. You fail over, you fail once, you lose twice, you lose 3 times, you lose 4 times, and boom, you still have a shot at the national championship. They want a safety net underneath them. They are completely disrespecting what college football means. They're completely disrespecting what college football has been for the last 150, 155 years, right? Totally soft. They just want a safety net, and it's the most disgusting and softest thing I've ever seen from college football coaches, and I pray to God that they toughen up a little bit. If you cannot get your team to not lose more than 2 games, then boom, you should not be in the playoff. You should not have another shot at the national championship. That is soft, and I hope and I pray to God that they learn and they come to understand that, hey, this is kind of soft. This is not what we need. That is not what I need. I'm a better coach than to lose more than 2 games. You are a better coach than to lose more than 2 games. And if you aren't, then get out of the job and go find another job. Go work at, Central Bank. Go work at Bank of America. Go do something that isn't college football coaching. If you are not built for coaching in college football, don't do it. Go to the NFL where you can lose 8 games and still make the playoffs. That's fine. Go coach in the NFL. This isn't for you if you voted for a 2014 playoff. If you are a college football head coach and you voted for a 2014 playoff, that's not the job for you. Go coach in the NFL. That is absolutely terrible, and I hope and I pray that they wisen up and they get a little bit tougher and grow a pair to not lose 2 games. Now, the final point that I want to make. When are we going to stop letting this happen to us? When are we as college football fans going to stop letting this happen to us? Go look at what European soccer fans did whenever there was talk of a Super League forming. Go look at what they did. They rioted at every single game. They didn't riot, they protested. They protested at every single game. They had tifos, they had big old banners saying like, we don't want this, we're against this. Everything online was totally negative towards it. And eventually, the billionaires, the millionaires that were just trying to make more money, they caved to them. When are we going to do that? When are we going to start bringing stuff in to the college football stadiums with big signs that say we're not doing this? When do we start going to college football offices? When do we start going to the NCAA office? When do we start doing something and being provocative? Not trying to fight anyone, not trying to do anything violent or anything, but using our voice and saying, hey, we are fans. We are the people who make this sport what it is. You guys owe us something. We owe you nothing. We are the ones who spend hundreds of dollars to go and watch these games. We are the ones who spend big money on TV deals so that we can buy YouTube TV, so we can buy DirecTV, so we can buy Spectrum, so that we can pay to watch these games. We give you all the money. You owe us something. We pay you, we get something in return. That is how the market works. That is how things work in America. We give you money, we expect something in return. Not we give you money and then you take advantage of us to get more and 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 more money out of us. That is completely wrong and totally greedy, and something that eventually I think that we have to start looking at doing something. We can't just get on Twitter and type something, oh, we hate this is terrible. Because clearly, go look at March Madness. That's not enough. Go look at, we can't just make a TikTok, oh, this is terrible. This is going to ruin the sport. I can't just sit here on a podcast and say, hey, this is terrible. We have to go and do something. We have to go and do something and go to the offices, and I hope that people can go and, we look at European soccer as something bad in America, like, oh, we don't like those Euro poors, all this, whatever you can say about soccer, but go look at what they did and look at how they eventually turned things around for them. They kept the Premier League. They kept all these regional-based everything in their own country. They kept it because they actually got up and did something. They got up and protested. Why can't we do that? Why haven't we done that? We have got to start doing something. If this 2014 playoff gets into fruition, it is going to ruin the sport, and it's going to turn the sport into something that I don't want to cover. It's going to turn the sport into something that I don't care about and something that I don't even want to watch. So hopefully, eventually, we have people, including me, including other, big name podcasters or whatever, we have people who actually start protesting and go to games and hold up big signs and say, this is terrible. Go to Mizzou, go to Alabama, go to Georgia, go to Michigan, go to Ohio State, go to all these places, hold up big signs and just protest. I know it sounds stupid and woke and all this stuff, but eventually we have to try and do something because we are just getting taken advantage of over and over and over again, and I hope that eventually college football fans get out there and do something to correct the absolute terribleness that has been done to us the past 10 to 15 years in college football. Okay, it is time to calm down. It's time to calm down. Let's get into the Oregon program spotlight. Okay, look, I'm sorry. I went on a bit of a tangent there. It's something that I'm incredibly passionate about because I don't want the sport that I love. I don't want the sport to be ruined. I hope that eventually sometime way down the road we can get this all figured out, and then hopefully we can just stop these conversations. The college football playoff expanding is never going to be a good thing. March Madness expanding is never going to be a good thing, and I hope that eventually this is all over and we can just get over this because it's a stupid conversation and it's going to ruin the sport. It's going to do something to the sport that is irreversible because once they get that little bit of money from them, they're not going to want to stop. It's not going to stop. It's like whenever we expanded the playoff for the first time to 12 teams, it's like, yeah, 12 teams, it's okay. I didn't love the 12 team. I've been pleasantly surprised by how good the 12 team playoff has been, but everyone kind of knew it's like, they're not going to stop at 12. They're going to keep expanding. And that was one of the main issues of expanding the playoff to 12 teams is that they're not going to stop at 12. They were already going to make it 16. If it was up to the SEC is the only people who are stopping it from being a 24-team playoff. If the SEC had their way, it'd still be a 16-team playoff. So it's still going to expand, even if, this didn't happen, right? So it's disappointing, and I hope that we try to figure this out, and I hope we can eventually get past this. But for now, we'll get into the Oregon program spotlight and end this episode on a little bit of a positive note. Oregon football has been on one of the best runs of the football program's history, okay? The Oregon Ducks the past few years. Look, 2022, they went 10-3. 2023, they went 12-2, got a little bit better. They lost those 2 games against Washington, kind of choked in the biggest moments. But 2024, they turn around, they go undefeated. They win the Big Ten championship, and then they choke in the biggest moment again against Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. And then 2025, they're not as good as they were in 2024, but they're still really good. One of the top 10 teams in the country, arguably the top 5 team in the country. Then they win a playoff game, so that's an improvement from the year before. But then they won 2 playoff games, so that's an improvement from the year before. It was against James Madison, so it was like, it's a little iffy. But then they go and they beat Texas Tech, which is a really tough game to play. And then they eventually lose to Indiana, the eventual national championships. But it's still a really good season. It's one of the best 4-year runs that they've had ever. They are a really, really good football program, and they have got no signs of slowing down. Now, in the present, going into 2026, they're returning a lot of really good players, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Evan Stewart, DeCorian Moore, two really good wide receivers, going to make one of the best wide receiver rooms in the entire country, rivaling that insane room that Ohio State always seems to have year in and year out. So that has the opportunity to be one of the best wide receiver rooms in the country. Then you have a guy throwing him the football like Dante Moore, who is one of the best quarterbacks in the country, projected as the number 2 overall pick going into the 2026 draft, decides to come back for another year, and then he's going into the 2027 draft. So a really good quarterback to throw him the ball, two really good receivers. That offense is going to be insanely good. But the questions I have are going to be on the defensive side of the ball. Look, they already have to replace a guy like Dylan Thieneman, who is a first-round safety, but they did bring in a guy by the name of Coy Parrish, the safety from Minnesota. He did play both ways a little bit at Minnesota, so maybe he can do that here at Oregon. We'll see. Probably not. Probably more of a safety, but we'll see. He was an all Big Ten player there at Minnesota. He's a really good talent. He's arguably a first-round pick. He's going to be really good going into the future, and he's a really solid player, all Big Ten type of player from Minnesota, going to make a huge impact on that defense. But they did have the 31st ranked transfer portal class in the country, a few really good players. It's not the highest ranked transfer portal class, but a ton of really solid players. Look, Coy Parrish, we just talked about. Andrew Olesh, a former 4-star tight end from Penn State. He is a redshirt freshman, so he's got 4 more years of eligibility. He's going to be really, really, really good. Then you bring in a guy like DeAndre Robinson, the D lineman from UNC, a 4-star talent out of the transfer portal. He's going to be really good. And then the big fish out of the portal, Dylan Raiola, the quarterback from Nebraska. That's a huge landing. Look, he's not going to make an impact in 2026. We all know Dante Moore is the guy for 2026 for Oregon, but he's going to go to 2027 and maybe beyond 2027 into 2028 maybe, depending on if he wants to stay or how good he does at Oregon, if he wants to go to the NFL or not. He's going to make an impact in the future. But not only that, maybe Dante Moore gets hurt. He's been a little banged up in his career. If Dante Moore does end up being hurt, then Dylan Raiola will come in and make a huge impact on that Oregon offense. So no matter what, this Oregon offense is going to be really good, and they're set up really well for the future. Of course, you go look at a guy like DeCorian Moore, who's coming back this next year, a former 5-star. He was a true freshman last year, so not only is he going to be really good this year, but he's also going to be really good for them next year in 2027 as well, whenever Dylan Raiola does eventually take over the offensive quarterback role. So going into the future, how good are they going to be? 2024, they had the 3rd ranked recruiting class. They had 18 4-stars. That is a ton. And then they also had a 5-star that we will talk about in just a second. We're going to talk about him with the 2026 class because he doesn't come in until 2026. But 18 4-stars is really, really, really good. And then in 2025, they had the 4th ranked recruiting class in the country. They had a few 5-stars. DeCorian Moore is one of them, one of the best players. And then you throw in Naeem Offord and Trey McNutt, 2 really good players on the defensive side of the ball. Cannot wait to see what they're going to do because they're finally going to be making an impact as true sophomores this upcoming year. Maybe they might be redshirt freshmen. I don't think they played as much last year, but 2 really good players and really, really high ceilings for those 2 players that can be really, really, really good. And then you throw in 13 more 4-stars in that 2025 class, and boom, they have one of the best recruiting classes in the country. And then they follow it up with another top 5 class, the 4th ranked class in 2026, 4 5-stars in this class. Keandre Henderson, the tight end, Jet Washington, the safety, Emmanuel Iheanacho, the tackle, really proud of how I said that, got that right the first time, no cuts or anything, Jalen Lott, the wide receiver, a really, really, really high potential player. All of these guys are going to be really, really, really good. They're probably not going to make as much of an impact in the 2026 season. I could see Keandre Henderson coming up and making a really big impact just because you see Keon Sadiq left. But again, like I talked about, Andrew Olesh, the redshirt freshman from Penn State, is coming in there. So I'm not sure how much of an impact he will have, but a 5-star tight end, a really big get. That's probably the only one that I see making a huge impact. Jet Washington, the safety, I could also see, again, like I said, Dylan Thieneman did leave, so that's another role that does need a little bit of help. So I could see Jet Washington coming in and making a really big impact in his true freshman year. But we'll see. I don't have a ton of confidence in that. But the main point is that they are set up really well. They're already recruiting really well in the 2027 class. But they have 3 straight top 5 classes. They're recruiting at a level that Alabama, Georgia did in the 2010s. They have recruited at a level that is going to keep them in the national championship race year in and year out. That's the kind of talent that can win you national championships any given year. And as long as you're putting yourself in the position to win national championships, then yes, you will eventually win the national championship. Go look at Ohio State. For 10 straight years, they did not win a national championship. They were consistently in the title race every single year. They were in the conversation, then eventually they broke through and won it in 2024. So a lot of Ohio State references in this episode, which I don't love as a Michigan fan, but whatever. They're a really good program. They deserve all the respect in the world. So really, really impressed with Oregon and how good they're going to be in the future. Not only how good they're going to be right now, but also how good they're going to be in the future. And I cannot wait to see what Dan Lanning continues to do, because he's already one of the best coaches in Oregon football history. You go look at Chip Kelly, you go look at Mario Cristobal. He was pretty good there for a few years, but Dan Lanning, I think, has potential to go down as the best head coach in Oregon history, just because he's the first coach to really see how big of a potential that Oregon has with all the Nike money that they have, all the facilities and resources that they have there. I think Dan Lanning's the first one to really say, like, ooh, we could do something special here at Oregon. So I think he's going to eventually, if not the guy after him probably will, but I think Dan Lanning's going to be there for quite a long time, and I'm really excited to see what he does going forward into the future. Now, before we end this episode, it did come out today that Ahmed Hardy, the running back from Missouri, was shot, apparently. He did survive. He was at a concert in Mississippi. He was a victim of a gunshot wound there. Not exactly sure what the story was, so I'm not going to talk too much about it just because I don't know the full story. But apparently he was the victim of a gunshot wound, so I did want to say all thoughts and prayers are towards him and his family, and I hope for a very speedy recovery. Hopefully, eventually he can get back on the football field, but right now that's not their priorities whatsoever. So again, thoughts and prayers out to the Ahmed Hardy family and out to him himself, everything. All thoughts and prayers go out to him. Hopefully he can get a speedy recovery, and hopefully he can get back on the football field eventually down the line. But sorry to end on a little bit of a sad note, but hey, it's a great episode. We had a ton to talk about. You saw me get a little bit angry there for a little bit, but again, thank you guys so much for watching. It absolutely means the world. The clip that I just uploaded a couple of days ago ended up being one of the best videos that I've had, so really, really, really appreciate all the support that we're getting in the middle of May, by the way. So I absolutely love it. I cannot thank you guys enough for watching. Make sure you go down and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Just tell me your thoughts on the 2014 playoff, or just leave your thoughts and prayers down there for Ahmed Hardy. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.